Have you ever wanted to know how to change the future? Alter the course of humanity, change the way people live and think and move about their daily lives? Have you ever considered changing the future? Stick with me today and we'll figure out how we can do that. Hello everyone, I'm Jonathan Burns and thank you for joining me on Walking with the Word. This is 15 minutes of our day designed to help us to take the Bible and learn more about how we can change the future and change ourselves. I want to remind you of where you can go to help us in this idea. You can go to our website, www.twtv.org, and click on the Survey tab, and there you can participate in a survey to help us direct and determine what's going to be taught on this program in the topics that are taught. And today's program is one that I think is important to you. It is important to me. You probably have had, will have, or do have someone in this age bracket. Maybe you have someone that's not directly involved in your life, but is a direct descendant of you. Maybe you are highly engaged in this age bracket because you love them, you care for them, and they care for you. I'm talking about children today. Someone submitted the question, how do we make the Bible real for children? So let's just for a few minutes of our day talk about how we can make the Bible real for children. Here's the 4 areas I want us to discuss as we think about the Bible, children, and the future. Number 1, tell them. Number 2, show them. Number 3, engage them. And number 4, ask them. And that will help us develop these areas of which we need to focus. Let's see our first. The first one is tell them. I just have a passage on the screen for you. It's Acts 16:25. But at midnight, Paul and Silas were praying and singing hymns to God, and the prisoners were listening to them. One of the things that we can do the most to engage our children is just tell them how it is. Here's what's going on. Here's what's taking place. Here is Paul. Here is Silas. And they were in prison. You know, we don't need to shy away from certain things. Now, there are certain things, of course, that we're not going to teach our children. I'm not going to teach a children's class on the book of Song of Solomon. I'm probably not going to use the intricate details of Song of Solomon in a sermon, for the reason of there are children in the audience, and there are things we don't want to expose our children too early as we think about things. We've got to consider our words, but what I mean by tell them is when you're teaching a child-appropriate class, just tell them what's going on. Don't make up some elaborate scheme to try to trick them into knowing. Don't make up some type of elaborate, detailed-oriented thing to make them try to figure out what's going on. Just simply tell them. They sit through classes year-round, not only at Bible class, but they do so at home with homework. They do so at school, and I want you to think about this, from the beginning of school to the end of school, and I know there are some periods where they get to get out some of that energy at school, and they get to go to the gym and outside, and I know that in various ages, but just tell them. That's how teaching is done. Just tell them in age-specific ways. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to remember Acts 16:25, because that's going to make a little bit of sense here in just a moment as we focus on our lesson moving forward. But here's number 2. We need to be people who show them. I went and took some pictures of one of our classrooms here in the building at Finley, and one of our teachers requested a map. Now, I love Bible maps. I really enjoy geography, where things were then, where things are now, what was going on then, what's going on now, and focusing on where these places were, because these places are real. We need to know that these places, I can go to a globe. Well, you don't see many of those anymore. I can go to a map. I can pull up Google Maps, and I can find all of these places where these people were. I can find where Jesus lived, where Jesus walked, where Jesus taught. Show them. Give them ways that they can focus on the Bible. This just happens to be a map of the area of Jerusalem, and this teacher took illustrations and laid them on the map so that they could see these are the places where Jesus taught. Even the wedding at Cana of Galilee is on this map. They showed them in a graphical way, hey, this is what was really going on, and taught the accounts of the Bible. Here's what we need to do. Sometimes we have in our minds that the Bible needs to be taught just one-on-one, plain and plain, simple and simple. Well, here's something interesting about that. If that's the case, then this program needs to cease. We can't use the graphics that we use. I can't put the Bible on the screen for you. Can't do that anymore. If that's the case, it's just got to be sitting down with you and him and her and the Bible, and that's how it's got to be taught. Just talk it out. Then in our auditoriums, we've got to get rid of our screens. We've got to get rid of our illustrations. I recently preached a sermon using fruit and water and had it right there in front of everybody. Can't do that no more. Can't have handouts anymore. Can't have booklets anymore. By the way, that curriculum that's taught, got to get rid of that. You see, don't limit yourself into a corner where you've said something that eliminates everything that you're already doing. Show them. Use resources. You don't have to use printed resources. That map was a printed resource. Hey, put a TV in that classroom. Put that map on the screen so that they can see that map. That's kind of the way that they're engaged naturally anyways, because everything they do is right here. We use them. I use it right now. It's my timer for this program. You don't see me looking at it. I do it while I'm off screen. But that's where they are. And that's where they focus on things. So use things that engage them where they are. Show them. These are real places. These were real people. Jesus was real, and engage them where they are. So show them. Not only that, I want you to engage them. In the classroom where the office side is in the church building is a classroom area. And there are 3 classrooms in this general area. And then there's a library and a workroom and some office space and other things. But there's a classroom, and yesterday one of the kids came and got me and said, "Hey, come back here and look at this." Well, I got my attention. There's a prison. Tell me more, is what I said. So I went ahead and I walked myself back there, and they had been studying, remember Acts 16:25, Paul, who was in prison. And they had creatively, now I haven't asked yet, I've got to find out, I want to know if they did this in class or not. If they did it in class, genius way to teach these children about Paul being in prison. But they had makeshift a prison, and they even put the words "here" on the wall with some tape, just in case you didn't know where the prison was. It's here. I love that, and I love to see it, but it engaged them. Whatever happened in that class, as soon as worship was over, they all flocked back to this classroom, and when I got there, one of them was in prison. Now, she didn't like it when I turned the lights off and shut the door real quick, but she got the point, and I did too. But their minds were engaged. They were told what took place. They visualized what took place, and they understood that Paul and Silas were in prison because they were teaching about God. They were doing what God said, and sometimes the world doesn't like everything that God says. Engage them where they're at. You see, their minds are much different than ours, but the reality is their minds aren't much different than ours either. I did something new recently, and if you go to Findlay, you know about this. On Wednesday nights, I taught 2 classes. Maybe it was just 1 class. I know it was the book of Colossians. And I used a large touch screen to draw and write and do things. And that was also put on our big screens in the auditorium. So wherever you were, even online, you could see what I was drawing on that screen. And when I finished that class, I had not planned to carry that over into the next class. And when we started our new class on Wednesday mornings, Wednesday night and Wednesday morning, the same class, one of the ladies on the Wednesday morning class said, "You're not going to use that screen. We like that screen." And it hit me. We're not much different than children in the concept of being engaged. We like our minds to be engaged. We like handouts. We like printables. We like consumables so that we can better learn. We like to be engaged in what's going on. Not only that, here's something you and I need to do. We need to ask them what's going on. Any question will do. What did you think about that? What do you think that means? And then just sit back and let them talk. Sometimes they're going to get it wrong, and that's okay. You're the teacher of the class. You can engage them. Sometimes they're going to get it right, and there's a great time to praise them and to encourage them and to build them up. Here's what I would do if I were teaching a younger class. I would make it conversational based, and I would create some kind of reward system to promote and encourage conversations and questions and participation inside of class, because if we can engage their minds and cause them to ask questions, then we've done our job. Any question will do. And then there's this. Just let them talk. Just let them get out that mindset that they have. Let them engage that class. Now, I know it can get out of hand and you've got to be on top of that, but let them talk and let them feel important. When we feel important, not only as children but as adults, we're more willing to participate in whatever is taking place. But there's something that's even more important in this idea of ask them, and I want to share it with you, with your personal living. With your personal living. They may not ask a question about you, but I assure you, they see everything you do. They hang on the words you say. They live on the breath that you breathe. They want you to be there. They want you involved. And boy, that's interesting to me as we think about how to make the Bible real for children. Tell them, show them, engage them, ask them. But here's the point. If we're going to teach a Bible class for children, let's get on their level. Let's get on their level. One of the things that I love the most about children's classes, and this may seem strange, is Vacation Bible School. And there's something that we do at VBS that we don't always do all the other times, but we make these elaborate visuals. We go all out to engage these children's minds. That's what we've got to do. If we're going to make the Bible real, we've got to take the Bible and make it as big as we can so that they can see it. That's what we can do, in my mind, to engage children so that they can follow the Lord and one day they can walk with Him.